Thanks again for joining us today on the Weave Generation channel. It's Brian and Scott. Got a very interesting and important topic of discussion today that has been floating around. Get emails on it, I've gotten phone calls, and just general discussion about it. Scott's going to talk a little bit today about the importance of understanding the relationship of prescription and over-the-counter drugs and interactions, and why that's important to start talking about at this time.
Well, there's several things that you should be aware of, and I think most people are aware of this, I think, but we want to talk about it again because it has come up here recently. Over-the-counter drugs with prescription drugs and how they interact. You know, the seniors, as we get older, we try to pay attention to what we're taking on the prescriptions. And of course, you know, you get a cold. A cold is a good example. And you interact that with a different drug over the counter. It may have a wrong interaction with what you're taking. And you would hope that the doctor that prescribed that would warn you of that, or the pharmacist would warn you of that. But not always. Or if you hear it, you tend to get complacent and forget about it. And that's where there's a huge amount of resources out there about this, particularly online. It will show you, there's some spreadsheets out there that will show you every drug and every interaction with the over-the-counter drug that's out there. And that's something that our generation should really be engaged with, because if you're taking care of mom and dad, and or aunt and uncle, whoever, grandma and grandpa, you need to probably, if you're doing the pill management, you probably need to have that sheet. And that's on a government website, that is. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that you're checking the pill trays, if they have pill trays. The other protection point that you can use on this, though, Brian, is the pills that are in blister packs. A lot of these pharmacies will find out what you're taking over the counter and already figure that out. Now, where it gets confusing is if the doctor calls in this prescription, and of course they will have a pretty good record of what you're taking over the counter, but if you decide that you're going to go take a cold medicine or, you know, something very general, it could have a terrible interaction with your prescription drug. Whereas if in the blister packs, most of those pharmacies that are doing that will ask you, are you taking you know, over-the-counter drugs, and what are they? So, you know, there's still a chance for something negative to happen, but it's minimized because there's a lot more questions that go on with putting together the pills and the blister packs.
Well, you got a lot of different touch points here with care for something. We're talking about being proactive with your care and the medications that you're taking, because I don't believe, Scott, that there's really a great system that brings all of these together, that where everybody along this care continuum knows what everybody's doing with regards to even your own medical records, correct? I mean, if there's medical records here and they stay within maybe a hospital or a facility, they're really, surprisingly, they're not talking to each other, and that can have drastic effects.
Well, yeah, and we were supposed to, you know, the government was supposed to form something like that years ago, and it had, you know, with the implementation of HIPAA and all that, it just never really took place, and that's what's kind of dangerous, because, you know, you look at getting your own records, and then you find out that you changed doctors 5 years ago, and those records need to transfer over. These are the kind of things that I'm talking about. Immunizations is a big thing too, and you got to think, well, wait a minute, was I immunized for that? And then you try to go back and get those records, you find out that they weren't transferred to your doctor. So, you know, there's really no holding place for all the medical records. So being engaged with your loved one is critical. And trying to reach back and find out all the things they're taking now is a critical point. I mean, really critical.
Yeah, the intentions, you know, we want to believe for sure that the doctors, physicians that are taking care of us and taking care of our mom and dad and grandpa and grandma and ourselves and our kids are talking to each other. Their intention is to do that and provide great care. They're, I think, probably busier than they've ever been right now. There's so much, you know, people are living longer. We're sicker overall, and we're, you know, they're providing sometimes a symptoms-based relief, and that can get really overwhelming. So certainly the intention is to have this work well and be coordinated, but you just have to be so careful that you take a real proactive approach with your medical information and everything. That's it. You know, a pharmacy that says, have you, or a doctor's office that says, have you done this, or have you had a reaction to this? If mom or dad or grandpa and grandma don't remember and they say no, you know, that, you know, the office is protected because that's really all that they have to do is check that. They don't have to log it into a system that automatically in real time checks, oh yeah, you did have this interaction. So, just a matter, of course, of being proactive with your healthcare.
That's really what I was trying to drive home today is to make sure you're at least paying somewhat attention to that. I mean, the doctors and PAs, they try, but they can't possibly know it all. They're human, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. All right, well, thanks again for joining us, and we'd love to have further discussion on this topic. Anything that you've seen or heard or understand with your own care situation, give us a call, 402-413-0221, or send us an email on it with any question or concern at weavegeneration@gmail.com. And again, on behalf of Scott and Brian, this is the Weave Generation channel. We're weaving the generational gap to further understand the roles that we play as a functional nation. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks a lot for being on.